Bobber, like good day, doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors. George Allen here.
Good Friday, everyone. It is September 23rd, first day of fall. And you can feel the temperatures it got nice outside. The humidity's gone. It's about 63 degrees right now, probably out there.
I hear it's going to get a little warmer next week, but we'll take it. And
what do you call it?
I'll be sailing tomorrow, so I'm like, okay, we'll just have to kind of wear some jackets.
Yeah, I've got next Friday. I'm going to be in New York City, and then Sunday I'm flying to Florida, and so next Friday it'll be just you and Jeff doing the show.
Won't even be me because I'll be in Utah.
Oh, you'll be in Utah, so maybe no show then. Maybe Jeff and Jason can do the show next week.
Yeah. I'll be out. Yeah, we've got some things going, and I'll be pretty unavailable in the evening.
Okay, cool. Well, Utah's also in a different time zone too. That kind of messes things up.
That's the other thing, the 2-hour time difference. Plus, I can never tell whether I'm going to get a decent internet connection at my mother-in-law's place. But yeah.
Oh, your mother-in-law's in Utah now?
Yeah, they've been living there for like 10 years.
They used to live around here, right? Did they live like in Lay Hill also, or whatever?
When they lived out here, they lived in New Carrollton.
Oh, New Carrollton. Wow, that was a haul.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when the kids were little, just we would have to go and visit them, more than once a month, and I mean, we were living in the other house then, but still, it's time consuming to get on.
Getting to New Carrollton is just because that side of the Beltway is just crazy, like many times, going into Goddard, you're cruising along, and then you get to College Park, and that's wherever, and I don't know, there's a lot of construction zones around there. You see the dump trucks all coming in, and they all fly in hot, and they slow down, and you gotta zigzag to pass them and stuff like that. So it's
I mean, they lived at like, just off. You had to take exit 20, I guess it was the last exit before you go to 50 before and so it's always just like busy and clogged. It doesn't matter what time of day.
Mm-hmm. And it's but what do you call? By the way, you can only watch us when. They did fix the problem. Restream had an issue today about having basically the streaming to Facebook was down, and now it's back up. So yes, you can watch us on Facebook or YouTube Live. I was about to say, hey, you can only watch us tonight on YouTube, but we're in both.
Maybe that's why Craig sent me a Facebook message asking if there was a Dr. Politics tonight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I didn't get around to setting the link up till late this afternoon because I was running around doing stuff, and it's and it was a busy week. We started the week with the Queen's funeral, which I thought was it was a good funeral. A little long, I thought, but hey.
Well, those things are. I mean, it's a huge event. I mean, she was on the throne for 70 years, right?
70 years, yeah.
She's much beloved by by millions and millions of people in essence, I think. And so, and they obviously, with her age, they had been planning this for a long time. It's a pretty amazing thing. I mean, it was the first funeral of that type, state funeral they've had since Churchill died in 1965. Yeah. So, these are almost once in a lifetime opportunities to see how this goes. I read a lot. I saw a decent amount. I mean, at the gym they have a channel. They have CNN playing, and I don't know, since I don't watch television all day long. At least television, as far as I can tell, it seemed like maybe CNN was devoting majority of their coverage to everything going on in London.
Yeah.
And not and it's just bringing up the other news periodically. But yeah, it was kind of like wall-to-wall coverage in a lot of places.
Mm-hmm.
But can you imagine this? I mean, I think it's the Earl of Marshall or something like that. I think he is charged with the funeral arrangements for this, and he has to get this whole thing orchestrated. You know,
Oh
everything
wow.
has to go down. Can you imagine being the person in charge of this mammoth event? I mean, of all the things that go on there. I mean, even if you watch just 10 minutes of whatever was going on,
Yeah, it's
it's
major
just mind
orchestration.
blowing.
Yeah, and it's kind of like presidential funerals. They're like major productions as well. They do the it's all done. I wonder. Hey, do you think Joe Biden was taking notes while watching the funeral? I mean,
Yeah, I don't
he
know. Maybe.
he got there late, by the way. Yeah, and honestly, I really don't know why he couldn't ride the bus with everyone else. You know, it's not like the bus was not going to be any less secure. And by the way, it's easier to secure one vehicle with all the dignitaries than two vehicles with dignitaries in it. And I think it's just Joe Biden's elitism coming through. He couldn't take a bus like normal people. And
Yeah.
then again, he was always against busing too, as we know.
Yeah,
Because
I don't, I don't think that it's hard to imagine there's really any kind of funeral quite like what they do there, what they did there for the Queen, and that, this kind of the whole royals and all the
yeah,
pomp and circumstance. Yes, we've seen presidential funerals here throughout our lifetime,
yeah,
and they're obviously big events,
hmm
but the scale, in the UK and Great Britain was amazing. I mean, you don't have people lining up for 10 to 24 hours
President
waiting.
Reagan. I want to say President Reagan. They had around the clock. People were lined up. That was I mean, it was nothing like 8 miles, but or 9 miles.
Yeah, but I mean, the estimate, depending upon where you're read, there were the low estimate, I think, was 250,000 people. The high estimate was like 750,000 people. Nevertheless, a lot of people waited a lot of time, and I do think that Great Britain is kind of unique because
Yeah.
they love the queue. I mean, this is a British tradition, and lining up is like somewhat part of their birthright.
Yes.
And I do think in
No
general,
wonder they love coming to Costco's. When they come to America, they love waiting in the lines in Costco's.
yeah, and I think they're probably generally friendlier than people in most countries, because almost all the reports that I saw were people who are waiting in line is just uh, the friendships and the conversations they struck up with other people in line. A lot of times Americans are just like they stick to their own business and they don't interact with anybody, right? Uh, but for some reason with Great Britain, they had, they're all there for this purpose, and they all just maybe they were expressing some of their reminiscences of what the Queen meant to them and everything during their lifetime, and so it's it and the empire is gone, right, and they have the Commonwealth, but
Yeah.
you have people coming in from all over the world to pay tribute and honor to the Queen.
hmm
It's just a remarkable event, and
Yep.
at least all the kids got together briefly, whether or
Yeah.
not I don't expect that camaraderie to exist otherwise, but it was still good to see. I mean,
Yep.
and
And I
overall,
tell you, and then we have Don Lemon, who was totally schooled by a British lady who lives in. Actually, she lives, I think, in somewhere in Montgomery County, and she went there for the funeral. And Don Lemon brought up reparations, and she really schooled him on that. She mentioned how, you know, the British Empire was the first place in the world, sort of, to outlaw slavery. Slavery in the North was outlawed way before that in America. So there, but we'll give them the credit, that they eliminated slavery in the empire.
wasn't
And
was that Wilberforce?
yes, Wilberforce. Yep. If you ever listen to Frank Wolf talk, he always brings up the Wilberforce story. And I actually went to school with a guy named Wilberforce. We called him Wilbur, but yeah. And he got schooled. She talked about, what about the reparations who come from the African kings who were rounding up the blacks, and what about the English Navy men who were fighting to stop the slave trades, that died on the high seas. Uh, And Don Lemon. It's funny how woke American reporters translate. Even the BBC woke folks probably are against reparations. Frankly, although they did have a BBC reporter that talked about reparations the day the Queen died, I believe it was.
You
And
know, when you talk about reparations, I mean, it really you start opening up a whole can of worms too, because then every group, will start looking for that piece of the pie too, because they said that they've been wrong, slighted, and they've been oppressed or whatever, and you just can't have that. And then Don Lemon, I'll say, while CNN has been trying to do a makeover of their programming, right?
yep,
We saw Brian Stelter get fired, and so his program's gone.
he's
And
now
then
the morning guy.
Harwood left, so Lemon's program is gone too. But rather than just outright cancel Lemon's program and kick him out the door, he's going to be part of the new morning program when they revamp the morning program in a month or two. So it's like, well, I guess that's a little bit better. I would rather just see Don Lemon, get booted out of the network entirely.
Yeah,
But at least in the morning program, he's not the sole anchor, right? I mean, he'll have a little bit of voice, but now it'll be divided up a little bit. And I think, if he wants to keep his job, he's going to have to listen to Chris Licht, who's running CNN, who doesn't really want a partisan network like they've had. So, will Don Lemon chafe under that? Who knows? But I'm sure they're paying him plenty of money in the meantime. But, maybe this is their way of easing Don Lemon out because, Harwood and Stelter, they're white guys. You don't want to get accused of racism by booting out the black liberal, let him leave on his own.
yep, very true. And what do you call? I think one CNN they're entering the era of, as I like to call it, reform. Kind of like when Gorbachev came in and started perestroika and glasnost. I think CNN is in that kind of era for the network. But I wonder if CNN will go back to its Soviet-style communist leanings after when they bring in when their Vladimir Putin takes over the network again, so to speak. But I mean, I think it's funny that Dan Rather is shedding tears for all the woke people being let go. And by the way, did you see Chris Cuomo is going to be on News Nation
Oh, is he?
with other liberals like Dan Abrams, and although News Nation are the same people that they bought the CW network, the WB network, and they own WDVM in Hagerstown. They own Channel 50 in DC. I think they also own Channel 54 in Baltimore. But it's funny that they are going to. They seem to be. Oh, Dr. Jason is the doors. Hey, welcome, Dr. Jason.
What's up, Dwight?
Hey, how are you doing? We were talking about the Queen's funeral and about CNN. How Don Lemon got schooled by one of the people that was there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't watch the Queen's funeral.
You didn't watch the funeral?
No.
Yeah, I really didn't either. So
I'm American.
Yeah. Well, it is the Empire, and and as everybody knows, when I say Empire, I'm actually thinking the Klingon Empire. But it is the Empire, and it looks like Don lost his connection. Now Don's back.
Oh, he's
Okay.
back.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going on with the connection tonight. So this might be a spotty show for me. For some weird things are happening tonight.
Well, I tell you, the show I did from Florida, from my house a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I had the same issues. I was dropping in, dropping out. It was Jeff and Liliana were doing the show, and
Well, I'm gonna blame Verizon FiOS if things
yeah, I
get
tell you,
worse.
FiOS is not, and I upgraded to the fastest possible connection I can have, and yeah, maybe it's time to
What good is it if I'm paying for 1 gig if I drop out?
exactly. There should
I
not
have
be.
Verizon. I pay for the cheapest one. Works great.
Do you have dead zones in your house?
No, my house is
When I go up to my third floor, I get a dead
Oh,
zone.
Dwight goes up to the third floor. The internet doesn't work.
It's
You got to get one of those Wi-Fi extenders.
Actually, I've got Google. I got a guy coming in to put in Google Mesh, so it should boost the signal.
Mine sits right in this corner over here.
Oh wow!
It
Hey, you're like my
reaches out
friend.
pretty well.
You're like my friend Steve. He's a CPA, but when he started his business, he would run his business out of the Bethesda Library, which is now called the Connie Morello Library, and he'd be the first one in line to get there. When they opened up at 10, he'd sit right by the Wi-Fi router, and he'd take calls. And I go, "Where do you meet your calls?" "Oh, I book a conference room, like any other business, And then he's doing this for 3.5, 4 years, and he's making good money. I go, "Steve, don't you think you should move into a real office?" He goes, "Really? Should I? I'm already paying for this office with my taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
Why get rid of a good thing?"
I used to have a track coach in high school that didn't have internet at his house. So if you went to the library here, you would see him. You would see him. He would go to the library to use the internet.
That's a little different than running a business out of the public library. Maybe that's what the state party we should do. Take over one of the libraries in Anne Arundel County.
Oh, that'd be a good idea. Corinne, Lily, and I, we could all meet at I don't know which library would be best for us to all meet at. We could all go to the. Actually, we could probably go to the library in the Annapolis Mall. Every time I go by it, it's totally empty.
There's a mall. There's a library in the mall.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's the only new thing that's opened in the mall here, probably in the past 5 years.
Where are they in the Nordstroms? Is that where they came in?
No, there's nothing in the Nordstroms. It's close to the Nordstrom.
Yeah.
It's in what I would refer to as the new part, but the new part has been there for like 12 years now. But
Okay. Yeah. So we're getting
really
excited.
hard getting political commentary going on tonight.
No, we do this all the time. We talk about. By the way, did Young enjoy the flat beans? By the way,
Yeah.
Good. I got some hot peppers for you guys if you want some. Jason, I don't know if you like hot peppers or if you
Sure.
even bother to cook or anything like that. But there was an article I was reading in, not so much in our area, but there are parts of the country where people are having their vegetable gardens. People are stealing the vegetables off in the middle of the night. They come, they take, and I think it's all because of the high price of produce at the supermarket.
Probably.
People are stealing.
I mean, you saw that Wegmans is discontinuing their checkout app, not the checkout self-checkout itself, but the checkout app, because their losses were beyond crazy for them. I mean, of course, it's like, yeah, okay, so you actually expected people to go ahead and scan their purchases and then pay on the app and then walk out of the store during these times without anybody verifying the purchase. I mean, at least, Costco doesn't check, they kind of do a cursory examination, whereas Sam's actually scans some of your purchases to verify, against your receipt. But, that may be where it has to happen. It's like, if these guys are seeing shrinkage in their self-checkout, even the ones that actually just have, you actually have to use the self-checkout and walk out. They may need some kind of extra check on there to make sure people aren't just walking out of the store with free goods, because all of us are paying for that.
Yep. And I think one of the biggest problems we're seeing with this is also the lack of enforcement also. No, I think it all has to go back to Democrats' policy on soft on crime policies, inflation, how the price of milk is $5, how groceries, people, you're paying $100 for a week's grocery. Now you're probably paying like $130, $140 a week for groceries. Forget buying bacon. Matthew Foldy and I were talking last night about how, as vegetarians, it's not so bad, but I think even for vegetarians, potatoes are like over $1 a pound, and one russet potato is a pound or more. So you're looking at, you get 5 pounds of russet potatoes, you're looking at probably around $6-7 for 5 pounds for 5 russet potatoes. And russet potatoes and potatoes in general, I remember years ago, you could buy potatoes at 10 cents a pound. And that's not too horribly long ago, too. That's like in the 1980s, the late 80s, early 90s. You could buy potatoes for 10 cents a pound.
Probably before Jason was born.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever paid that little.
I don't even think your mom probably remembers that. I don't think your mom would even remember that.
Probably not.
Your grandmother probably remembers it, though.
Yeah, she remembers when potatoes were probably a penny a pound.
Yeah. I mean, psychologically too, this is all bad because it's really hard when you go to the grocery store and you just see these skyrocketing prices, and you're like, but 6 months ago, 2 months ago, whatever, it was 10, 15% less. Sometimes it's just really hard. I mean, I know my wife struggles with this all the time with some of the basics. It's just like, it's really hard to spend this much on eggs or this much like on potatoes or whatever, vegetables and stuff like that. And stuff like that, you're limited, with perishables, you're really limited to how much you can buy and hoard. You can't really stock up on those things very long. I mean, there's some, shelf stable products you can hold on for a while, but a lot of stuff you can't. So it's like, you're just going to get stuck with paying the high prices. But Joe Biden seems to be oblivious to all of that.
What did he say? It's not
the economy's doing great.
60 minutes. It only went up a tenth. Stop making it a big deal. It's 8.3%. It was 1% when you came into this job. And it's not, what the saddest thing, it's not even 2 years since he's been president. Things went downhill pretty fast. I think I want to say after he gave the State of the Union in 2021, things started going downhill really fast, and it's ridiculous, He's out of touch. Remember when, JC, you probably don't remember this, but when George H.W. Bush was president, they were accusing him of being out of touch because he bought socks at the J.C. Penney in Frederick at the mall. He was coming back from Camp David and he stopped off and bought socks at the J.C. Penney, and he bought like $5 socks, and they accused him of being out of touch. Where are those same reporters are still around today? Where are they accusing Joe Biden of being out of touch with everyday Americans when he says it's not so bad? I'm getting my refrigerator stocked with ice cream. I don't care how much it costs, and then you have it, he's still flirting with the idea of running for president again. That's kind of like his dream job, I think. Run for president, again. And
it didn't sound. I watched that 60 Minutes interview. He didn't sound that committed to doing it.
Really, he didn't.
Right.
But he didn't.
Exactly. Yeah. No, he waffled on that, right? I mean, he did not unequivocally said he was going to run or he wasn't going to run. And so that throws the Democrats and gives them a little bit more of a pickle on that, because you want your president. The president needs to, even if he's not really planning to run again in 2024, he should say that he plans to run or he's committed to the office or something. Give the Democrats, give the country some confidence that you're going to do the job, rather than all of a sudden like, okay, I had one term, I'm old, I'm leaving, when you're halfway through your first term. And that's why that Monmouth poll said that, was it 71% of the people polled don't want him to run again in 2024. He's already, with the policy disasters that we've already had, and then this kind of waffling type of thing like this, how many Americans can have confidence in Joe Biden as a president going down? Certainly can't have confidence in Kamala Harris.
Yeah, and look at the great hope for the Democrat Party. Gavin Newsom, Mr. French Laundry, Mr. Masks for you, none for me. Mr. I've turned California into a third world country. We turned the power off during the day, caused brownouts because we don't have enough electricity for all the EVs that we're going to force everyone to buy in a few years. Don't charge your EVs up during the day. Wait till nighttime to charge them up. That he's their great hope. And then you got Pete Buttigieg, who's totally out of touch, not qualified to be the Secretary of Transportation, and he's their other hope. They've got Buttigieg, and then there's always the Wicked Witch of Chappaqua, Hillary Rodham Clinton.
On Gavin Newsom, the thing too, Dwight, is just that, people are leaving the state of California. I mean, I wish the Democrats would just stay there, okay, instead of going to other places and starting to shift the balance in some of the states, surrounding states like that. But there are plenty of Republicans that have also been leaving the state, so their population is shrinking. I mean, but yeah, you're doing a great job. You are throwing so much regulation, so many things are going on, in your state. Between the taxes and the regulation, you are chasing people out of your state. You are basically forcing them to leave if they want to live a reasonable lifestyle at this point. And it's that part of that decision is made easier by work from home. The pandemic, as it kind of shifted how we do things, with a lot of those companies in California saying, well, we're not going to, you don't have to return to the office. Only certain people do. You can live elsewhere and still work for us. I mean, that was almost like the green light for a lot of people to say, I'm out of here. If I don't have to live in San Francisco or anywhere in Silicon Valley and things like that, LA, but I can live, 2 or 3 states away or wherever it is and still get paid while I do my work. I'm out of here. Why would I want to pay the high tax?
Imagine living in, say, Wyoming and making LA dollars in Wyoming.
Right, that money goes a lot. That money goes a long way there.
Imagine making Montgomery County money
your
in Western Maryland. I mean, it's like if I were to say move to Western Maryland and have Montgomery County.
You're still paying Maryland taxes in Western Maryland.
That is true,
it would be like if you keep your job now and you move to West Virginia.
Yeah. Actually, what do you call it? I could go to Florida and save a.
Why would you move to West Virginia?
West Virginia. If I lived anywhere, it's funny. My dad bought a house in Martinsburg, West Virginia. My sister knew about it. Nobody else in the family. I think my mom knew about it.
Well, they had a successful outlet mall there for a long time before it just kind of.
Well, it's funny. This is a house that he was the city engineer for the city of Martinsburg. And this is a house him and mom had lived in. And it was for sale. And he goes, I just had to have it. Is what he told my sister. My sister goes, Dad, why?
That's like something you would say, Dwight.
Oh, I just had
to have it.
Yes. See that Ferrari? I just had to have that Ferrari, right?
Hey, didn't Cat O'Connor buy a place in West Virginia?
Yeah, I think so. And there's a lot of people. I mean, our past MDGOP chairman, Alex Mooney, will probably be the next senator from
West. He didn't have to move that far.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I know. He was already pretty close, wasn't he?
Yeah. And then even former Congressman Roscoe Bartlett.
Roscoe,
does he live in West Virginia now?
Yeah, that's where I thought he was, in the hills of West Virginia, off the grid.
Isn't he I was gonna say, doesn't he live just totally off the grid?
Yeah.
Yeah,
nothing.
I mean, he's so off the grid. I mean, I think it was not long after he had been defeated and made that decision to relocate and kind of go off the grid. I think Politico or somebody did a story on him, but the reporter was like, it was such a hard thing to try to track him down because if you're off the grid, you're really hard to find, and trying to communicate with him was virtually impossible. So that reporter was very lucky to even be able to, get a hold of Roscoe and then find the place that he was living in. But it's probably perfect for Roscoe at this point in time.
Yeah. Well, his wife almost got elected to Frederick County Council 4 years ago. Or was it 8 years ago? I think it was 4 years ago she ran for county council in Frederick. And she lost by I think maybe less than 100 votes. So I guess if she had won, he would have moved back to civilization in Frederick, Maryland, but that was great, Ellen Bartlett, she ran a really good campaign, and what do you call it? But again, today's stock, have you guys looked at your stock portfolios today?
It's better that we don't look at them right now. I tell you.
I know. I'm afraid to look. I was ready to log into my Morgan Stanley account, and I'm like, nah, better not. Today's not a good day to look at it.
The swooning market will not do a lot for consumer confidence going forward.
Yeah, and there was a guy I was talking to from that. He's a civil servant at NIH. He was telling me he was planning to retire in about 3 years. But he goes, my stock portfolio has gone down 25%. We're below 30. What is it? We're below 30,000 now. The stock market
Right.
is below 30,000. We are. This 2022 is going to be a bear market. The bears are out now, frankly, and it's not good for average Americans who you do have 401k plans. Even crypto isn't what it was. I mean, didn't Bitcoin take a nosedive? And how's Dogecoin doing, Jason?
I stopped. I started ignoring Dogecoin about 2 years ago.
And how AMC's still doing well though. But I also heard they might be. They just bought Regal Cinema or something. AMC did that, I think, recently.
Well, I mean,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Regal has filed. I mean, their parent company Cineworld has filed for bankruptcy, so we'll see what's going on. But I have seen stories of people who had bought tickets in advance, like via Fandango, to go to see a movie at Regal, and then they show up to the theater, and the theater's closed permanently.
Oh, really?
closed.
Also, they just shut down all the Regal theaters are closed now.
No, I mean they didn't. I mean, that means that gives them an opportunity to do that.
Hey, Susan, she's cooking her dinner.
We love Susan. She's always great.
She was at the Red, White, and Blue dinner last night. Susan, did you enjoy it? Let us know. But it was. By the way, that was an excellent dinner. Great work, Jason.
Did you like the hotel, Dwight?
I liked
the hotel.
I liked the hotel. I didn't like the parking garage. My truck is too big because I've been in there before.
I didn't like that
yeah,
parking
I've been in that garage. Yeah.
Sparkplug barely could get his BMW around in that garage. That's how tight it is.
Yeah, it's really tight and it's laid out weird because there's like a floor and like each floor was like a floor. It was like a half floor.
Yeah. Oh. The reefer.
At least the parking was validated though, or else because I pulled in and I was like, oh my gosh, $24 to park here.
I parked in the
Super
surface
expensive.
lot on the corner, like by the Potomac Pizza. I parked there. Kathy Shalega parked there too. Hey, Susan enjoyed it. There you go, Jason.
There we go.
Another police
At least
customer.
I know one person enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it, And then we had a heckler there last night.
I missed that whole thing. I was inside and then I went and just sat down in one of those comfy chairs outside.
Yes, the garage was creepy.
It was. And all of a sudden I see Alan Firth just like pushing this guy, telling him to F off and F himself. And I was like, what is going on? And then like they're about to just start hitting each other. And then the guy like took off and ran. And then Barry came out and he was going to lay down the law, but the guy took off.
Yeah,
What did he do on the inside?
Like a little cockroach, he scurried off when the light was turned on him.
What was he yelling about?
Are you for rape? Are you, because it is before she got to the point where every Republican president has always made an exception for rape and incest, in the life of the mother. Before she got to it, he goes, you're for this, you're for that.
Well, I'm glad he gave us $200 to be an idiot.
Yeah, I was going to say, did the heckler actually pay to do that?
George Soros
I don't think he
bought
snuck
his
by
ticket for him.
registration. I mean, we were all, you couldn't get in unless you walked by us. But
I wonder if George Soros paid for his ticket. But
we'll use the $200 to elect a Republican.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually a hit. Dwight was my everybody who saw the Dwight Patel for county council pin that I had.
I know, and I saw a lot. Like Kathy Shalega had one on. Ellen Savary had one on.
Yeah,
a lot of people had my pins on last night.
Should have gave one to Kellyanne Conway.
Did you give one to her?
No, I did. I only had the one you gave me. I'm not giving my only one.
See, I know Kellyanne from Grover's. So, I knew her. She was Kellyanne Fitzpatrick. Great lady. I didn't
know she lived in Montgomery County.
Yeah. I need to mail her one. I'll mail her one. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. We were at, we were all at, she used to come to Grover's, and she was also the CPAC holster back in the day. She still is, I think. Or I should say her company. But we were all at Grover's on 9/12/2001. That was a very, And then you had some guy get up, a guy he ran for lieutenant governor with a certain candidate in 2014, got up and because, Grover's got a coalition of people that come there. And the guy got up and he goes, it's because of you people. They had to keep schools closed because you know where they all are, but you won't tell us, And that was the first time I seen, and then another person. Yeah, it was a hoot, so to speak.
So Grover actually held his meeting the day after 9/11.
Yeah, because I called up Jane and I go, "Are we still meeting today?" He goes, "Yeah." She goes, "Yes, we're meeting." And yeah, our friend Barbara Olson, we lost her that day. And I remember Barbara after President Bush 43 was elected. She was there. She's the one that got us to go down to Florida to watch the Brooks Brothers riot, the famous Brooks Brothers riot in Florida in 2000. No, this is like during the recount. They said they said we were rioting. But anyways, the good old days, But it was a very good dinner. Kellyanne gave a great speech. And if I had any criticism, Jason, is I didn't like the dessert.
What was the dessert? Mark got it all hyped up, and I never figured out what it was.
It was like I don't know if it was a brownie or a cake with some not so good tasting custard in the middle.
Oh.
They offered me a fruit plate. I'm a vegetarian. I'm not crazy. I'm gonna eat the cake. I'm not gonna eat the fruits.
All right. Susan's got to tell us what the dessert is. Dwight is not quite dead. So.
Hey, Susan, what was the dessert? But if you remember what the dessert was, let me know. And oh wow, we're competing against the Trump rally in South Carolina.
I bet. Do we have more viewers?
I don't know if it's not televised. It's not. OAN is no longer carried by FiOS, so if you have FiOS, you can't watch one of them. Why did they drop One American News? I figured if they were going to drop anything, it would have been Newsmax because Newsmax is a little fringier than One America was. One America had a much better production value.
Yeah, but I think a lot of these cases. I think with One America, there's probably a couple of things in there. One is that the contract, to do that came up. Part of it probably has to do with One America, how much money they would want for the carriage, which Verizon probably didn't feel was, and I think just the general fact that OAN being such a very pro-Trump or whatever, I'm sure they received some pressure on the other hand too to drop them. So
yeah,
One America was definitely the more fringy network out of if you look at it versus Newsmax. So
really. Okay, I would have thought Newsmax would have been the more fringy one.
Yeah, I wouldn't miss either
Newsmax
one.
To have a lot of former Fox people on it.
Yeah,
right.
Well,
Yeah,
also,
Newsmax
Newsmax has
is
a
the one
lot
to
of
get those
former.
guys.
Newsmax has a lot of former NET folks also working there, evidently. The original conservative TV network, Jason, before your time, Paul Weyrich started the first all-conservative station. And you know who some of the people that got their starts there were? Major Garrett was one of them. Then you got Genevieve Wood, and then there's a con man that bought that network after the Squishers took over and called it America's Voice Network. What happened? And then some con man came in after that and called it the Renaissance Network, and he gave Armstrong Williams a show, and Marion Barry had a show on that network. Al Sharpton had a show. But yeah, those were interesting times. But anyways, back to the issues at hand. Don, what else have we?
Back to news.
Yeah, back to the news you all tuned in for. But
So let's briefly talk about this whole thing going on in Ukraine and Russia, just because
yeah.
we're now we're at day 212, but remarkably, the Ukrainians have had like this big offensive, the second wind, and they've got they not only had the Russians pinned back and retreating in some areas, it's forced Putin to mobilize, people to go and to serve these reserves. They haven't done that since World War II. He had pretty much sworn that he would, this was not going to be this is not going to be a case where they were going to have to ever do this.
Yeah.
And the stories of the pictures of these people, the men, they're fleeing Russia. Yeah. They've gone to Moldova. They've gone to Finland. They're supposed to not be able to allow to leave the country unless, like the army, the recruiter, somebody says they can go. But thousands of people, thousands of men have left rather than being conscripted in to a war, to an effort they don't want to be a part of.
He's emptying out the gulags and saying, hey, you'll get clemency if you go fight in Ukraine and die. You'll get clemency.
Well, I mean, how trained can these people be? I mean, he wants to call up 300,000 people. Exactly what have these people been doing? I doubt highly they're like our people. We have National Guardsmen. We've got all kinds of people. They get regular training. They get regular training to keep up. And
we get a lot of training lifting up the vodka glasses.
But I mean, in Russia, do you see any of that even being a possibility? That they're getting any kind of training. I mean, they're going to be handed weapons. They don't even know how to fire them, defend themselves. I mean, if they get fired upon, I just have a feeling they're going to just run. I mean,
it's kind of like if you remember back in the Vietnam War era, you had for a time you had Ho Chi Minh was getting like 12-year-olds. When does Putin start getting 11 and 12-year-olds to go to fight in Ukraine like Ho Chi Minh did? Another fellow traveler of Vladimir Putin's ideology there.
Well, wasn't that the same? A lot of these other countries, like the Sandinistas,
yeah,
take teenagers.
El Salvador, same thing.
Yeah, a lot of places that this was happening. But yeah, I mean, there was something I saw, and I hadn't seen it before, but I was just reading. So, I mean, how bad are things for the Russian army? They're using mercenaries, and they're also taking people out of the penal colonies to go fight.
And by the way, they wanted to. They were. Here's the thing. I know we make fun of our intelligence. The CIA. We make fun of CIA and so on. But let me tell you, they've been trying to assassinate Zelensky since before the start of the war, and it has failed. And they've sent back their assassins in pine boxes or whatever they make coffins out of in Ukraine. I don't know if pine wood is plentiful there as it is here, but it's like this reminds me of an episode of Deep Space Nine when the founders at the end of the previous season they took Deep Space Nine and they were all cocky. Yeah, we're gonna roll over the Federation and so on. And then Captain Sisko mounts a counterattack. And one of the founders go, I guess this war is going to take a little longer than we thought it would. That is what that's what Vladimir Putin is thinking right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's about 209 days past the date he thought he was going to get this all done. Right?
It's like General McClellan told President Lincoln, "Oh, we'll crush those rebels," and we know how the first Battle of Bull Run turned out for the Union Army. Didn't go as well as McClellan had. I think that's a lot of Putin. I mean, he thought they could roll right over those people. It would be very easy, and he certainly did not think that other nations would come and help defend them. I mean, by providing training and arms, right? So, and that definitely the Ukrainians have benefited a lot from. I mean, we have poured a ton of money into that effort. We have given them a ton of training and everything like that, but it has. And I think one of those kind of intangibles in a way that Putin just, he did not foresee was just the will of the Ukrainians to say, this is my homeland. Mm-hmm. You're not kicking me out. You're not taking over. You're not making me a part of Russia. And they're just pure resolve to stand up, risk life and limb to defend their homeland. It has been an amazing, spectacle to watch, to see that. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, where does Putin go from here? I mean, he's going to throw all these people in who
don't want to be in the war, and Northern Russia. I mean, there's some protests in Russia for people who are protesting this, all of these things. There's a lot of problems. I mean, Putin, even if he somehow manages to pull some kind of miracle out of his hat and win this thing in a sense, he's still gonna be greatly weakened by this, because it has been really, from a military standpoint, an utter disaster.
Yeah, and maybe what they say, famous people die, and there's they say famous folks dies in pairs of threes. I think they say that on world leaders. Queen Elizabeth was one. Maybe will Vlad be two? That could be morbid, maybe he'll be the second one. Then maybe Xi Jinping will be number three, for lucky, or one of the Ayatollahs in Iran. But
look, if they start throwing these people who have not had any kind of regular military training and put a gun in their hand and send them out there to fight the Ukrainians, and if those people start dying in droves, Putin's just, there's no way out for him at that point in time.
Remember, Tsar Nicholas had a war going on, and how'd that work out for Tsar Nicholas? If you remember, that's what really brought down the Tsars in Russia, was the war, World War One. He had, and nobody wanted to go. Russian soldiers cutting off their trigger fingers, so they wanted to go fight in World War One. Very unpopular war, and maybe he'll suffer that. Maybe they'll say, "Hey, Vlad, we're going to do a little portrait of you and take him into a room and like the Tsar's family." But that's no one would ill on somebody. That's not right. That'd be wrong, as Mark would say. But anyways, Putin's war, I don't think it's going too well as he thought it would, and I think he's bluffing on the fact that he says, "I'm going to use nuclear weapons."
But he said he's not bluffing.
Yeah, that's what he is. It's like, "Oh, I'm never going to do that." It's kind of like people who claim, it's like, it's like when you tell a kid, "Don't eat that cookie. You better not eat that cookie." And he goes, "Okay, I won't eat that cookie," and puts the cookie in the mouth and eats it. That's he's bluffing. If he were to use nuclear weapons, let me tell you, you think the world hates him now? I mean, even the Indian Prime Minister kind of chastised Putin. I want to say it was in Russia he did that when he went there, And by the way, I think one of the reasons Nikki Haley made a really good point about why the Indians are probably siding with Russia in this whole thing. It's because of a weak America with Joe Biden at the helm. Because I guarantee if Trump were president and this had happened under Trump's watch, the Indians would not be siding with the Russians.
So you're speaking of Nikki Haley. You see that dust up she had?
Yeah, can you imagine that?
With Sonny Hostin of The View.
Yeah. She has to use an Anglo name. Is that what was that the exact word?
Haley was great though, firing back at her, because Sonny Hostin's birth name is not, it's not Sonny, right? I mean, she's making this accusation about Nikki Haley and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then she's like, wait a minute. It's like Nikki Haley fires back. It's like, yeah, you attacked the wrong person here and didn't do your homework anyway.
Yeah. I mean, Whoopi Goldberg's real name is not Whoopi, I believe her name is Karen.
Really, you better watch out what you're trying to say here, because then, your own hypocrisy will be opened up for everybody to see. But
I know, my name's not Whoopi.
The View is a horrid program, one of the worst on television.
What's funny is I am surprised it's still on
people watch it.
Isn't it surprising people actually even watch that show? I mean,
it's kind of like soap
or is
opera.
it? Does something else come on before it, and people just forget to change the
General
channel?
Hospital? I bet General Hospital.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah, let's check the programming. What's on before there that they're They just kind of leave it open.
Let's see.
I don't watch broadcast television, so I don't really know what the schedule looks like.
Well, I tell you, ABC7 does not have their show lineups on their website anymore. But I want to say it's got to be General Hospital or All My Children, one of those soaps probably. They probably sandwich it between two soaps. So people are watching their stories on All My Children, then they want to watch Luke and Laura on General Hospital. And
I mean, for some reason, I thought The View comes on earlier in the morning, like at 10 or 11 or something like that. So I kind of wonder whether or not it's feeding off of, some news programs or something like that.
Oh, it's probably feeding off Regis and Kathy Lee's show.
Something like that, right? Something that was very popular, and just feed into that, and people just kind of stick around.
Yes, that is Whoopi's name.
Oh, there we go.
It airs on.
I didn't even know what the name was.
Weekdays at 11.
Yeah. I do find it funny that her name is Karen. Yeah,
that's good.
I thought
call Whoopi a Karen and see what happens. But your name is Karen.
What we can say, Yep.
Hey Susan, you missed the thing with us. What was the dessert last night?
Yeah, what was it? It was like it had like a little custard, and the custard did not taste too well. Jason, did you not have the dessert yesterday?
I didn't have dinner yesterday.
You didn't have dinner yesterday?
No.
Were you so excited you couldn't eat?
No, I was standing outside getting the books ready to give them away as people left.
Oh, you had to do that all. Well, there were a lot of fine dining. What's funny is how College Park is dead by 10 o'clock at night. I mean, when I was at College Park, stuff would be happening at 10, 11 o'clock at night. You'd walk around, there'd be activity. Yesterday when I walked out,
there was a few people outside when I left, but not much.
It's like pretty dead though. Like all the restaurants are closed.
What was the name of that famous bar they had that closed years ago?
They used to stay open until like 12, 1 o'clock.
They all closed. Yeah, the VU closed, but RJ Bentley's is still there.
Yeah.
And that's on the other side. The Lido's is still there under new ownership. Chocolate over a cakey and creamy stuffed. It was I didn't like it. I'm sorry, Susan. I did not like it. I'm partial to ice cream as a dessert, frankly. I like ice cream. Unlike our Surgeon General, who seems to like just the cones without the ice cream, which is a little weird, I think. Do you guys find that a little weird, just eating the cone without the ice cream?
The cone. See, if you have ice cream, I think when you get to the cone, it's like the best part.
Yeah.
But it's the combination of the cone and the ice cream. The cone by itself is weird.
Yeah, that's what our Surgeon General was going around buying, just the cones, not the ice cream. That's weird. It's funny. I can imagine maybe the waffle cones probably taste okay on their own, but what do you call? I think what are those cones called? The ones that are flat at the bottom. They're like, are those cake cones, or is that what those called?
Oh yeah, you mean they're about this big? Yeah, they got
it feels
flat
like
bottom. Yeah, cake cone. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like those. Those don't taste too good.
Those are good. There's a good ice cream place right down the street from me, and people from all over Anne Arundel County come down here to Shady Side Soft Serve, and
Really?
those are the kinds of cones that they have. And
How late are they open?
10.
So maybe next week next Wednesday after Pizza and Politics, we'll have to go there.
You can't. I mean, it's quite a drive from Pasadena, but you're welcome to
Is
make
it?
I'll go with it.
Is it a drive?
Yeah, it's like a 50-minute drive from Pasadena.
Oh, I might do that. Is it closer to Davidsonville?
It's like 20 minutes away.
Okay, when I'm going to Annapolis, I'll do a detour and go around there.
So what time is Pizza and Politics next week?
6:30.
Let's plug it in.
Yeah, it's at Anne Arundel County's Business of the Year, right? Bella Napoli.
Our Republican Business of the Year.
Yeah.
which I figured out. I kept it a secret from the Central Committee, but after, because I think I nominated him, and Corinne gave me the nom. That Corinne was like, "You should nominate them."
Yeah.
And then as we were about to give the award, Corinne was like, "I don't even think the guy's registered Republican." And I was like, "Oh." And then he was unaffiliated, but then after he won the award, he changed to Republican. So
I think
that's good. I love that.
I thought he was a Republican because he was, he was really tight with Governor Ehrlich when Corinne had her event there.
I mean, he is a Republican. He just never changed his registration from unaffiliated.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people do. Just like a lot of people in Antelope
So is
County
Glory
are still
Days going to be the
Democrats,
business of
they
the year
vote
next year?
Republican.
Jason, is Glory Days going to be the business of the year next year?
Nah, we just gave it to Glory Days like last year, or the year before.
Oh, really? Okay.
We give it to Glory Days like all the time. I feel like.
Yeah. But that was going to be my backup. If we couldn't do it there, Glory Days, we were going to do the pizza and politics there because they got that private room also we can use.
Glory Days has pizza, right?
Yeah, I don't like their pizza as much as Pasquale's. Pasquale's had better pizza because they made me, at Corinne's event, they had nothing vegetarian on the preset menu, so they made me a pizza, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, this is going to be great. Great event, all candidates are welcome to come. Good to see, the Anne Arundel County candidates, or even if you're not from Anne Arundel County and you want to come on down. It's Pasquale's on, what road is it? It's Annapolis Road or Lord Baltimore Road?
Oh, shoot, I don't know.
Mountain Road. Mountain Road.
And the place is actually called Bella Napoli.
Yeah.
The guy who runs it, his name is Pasquale.
Yeah.
It's on Mountain Road.
Mountain Road, yeah.
Yeah.
Great place. Parking is awesome there. It's really
neat.
good parking. And come on down. And if you're running for us, maybe go there a little bit early, do a sign wave, and then come in. Enjoy. RSVP at, there's a link out there. It should be in, I think, this week's newsletter. They can go there and RSVP. Or if you don't RSVP, you pay $10 at the door. And that's just for us to get an estimate on what it's going to cost us.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be a great event. And we're at final thoughts time, Don.
Oh, do me.
Yeah. You want to do final thought? You want to go first, Jason? Or where do you go?
Do me last.
Okay.
I want to go last.
Okay. Doctor has to go see a patient.
It was like...
But I ate the young like eggplant also. I've got some eggplants too.
Eggplant?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I got
good.
the Chinese eggplant, the long ones.
Eggplant's good stuff.
I'm not a fan of it. I like eggplant in the Parmesan form when it's eggplant Parmesan, or also known as a heart attack on a plate. But yeah, I got that. I've got a whole bunch. She likes hot peppers, doesn't she?
Oh, yeah.
I got some Thai hot peppers that will make a grown man cry. That's how hot they are. So, final thoughts, Don.
Final thoughts. So we had New York Attorney General, Letitia James, filing a lawsuit suing Donald Trump and his family, the Trump Organization, kind of on fraud claims. But she's going to have a tough time with that. I mean, it makes a lot of news and whatnot. But not that I ever have thought that Donald Trump may be the most ethical business person in the world. But the way she has framed this lawsuit about valuations of the real estate and things like that is probably going to have a very tough time winning on this, because different people value properties differently. And so there can be a fairly wide range. Whether or not she's got any specific evidence to prove that they actually defrauded people. A lot of people have made a lot of money loaning money to Donald Trump over the years. And so I don't know that they'll get a lot of support from others, but this is a purely political thing anyway. Yet another attack on Donald Trump as we get closer to the election, because people want to tie every Republican to Donald Trump and try to save the Democrats from losing the House here in the fall. But Letitia James, I mean, when she campaigned for re-election, I mean, she pretty much promised the voters that this is the kind of thing that she would do. She was going to get Donald Trump. So she
And
has
you
to
know
make.
she's behind in the polls too. She's down in the polls against the Republican Attorney General candidate in New York.
Yeah, she's trying to make good on her campaign promise, and whether or not that's going to wind up being good for her. But I think this is a
But she thinks
you know
I
this
bet
is
she thinks she's
a terrible
Elliot
move on her
Ness.
part. So this is not a slam dunk case for her. So I think we're going to see in no time that this will be exposed and nothing but another political stunt there. Um, we also have all the border stuff going on with DeSantis and Abbott, plus the El Paso mayor. I mean, the focus is on DeSantis sending the immigrants, the illegals, up to Martha's Vineyard, and some mention of Abbott sending buses to Kamala Harris's home and some other places. They haven't spent a lot of time on the mayor of El Paso, who's also emulating them because they're overrun with illegal immigrants, and he's trying to he figures this is a good thing. And I don't know if you saw this, but now FEMA is going to contribute. They're going to help all these cities that are dealing with these illegal immigrants that have been busted and flown in to help pay for the cost of this. It's like, thank you, Joe Biden. This is your answer to handling illegal immigration, and the problem on the border is that you give these blue cities, some more money to handle the ones that the Republicans are sending off there, but you're not doing anything to actually solve the problem on the border. And they make it, and it really just kind of just gets me how they continue to make this thing of, well, Ron DeSantis, he lured those people to Martha's Vineyard with false promises and all these things. They actually kidnapped those people and put them on that plane. And so then an unbelievable amount of vitriol and craziness from the libs.
Hey, Don, real quick, has there been any outcry from the left about all those people in Martha's Vineyards telling all those brown people that came, you can't bust them right out of there?
I mean, they gave them stuff and packed them off and sent them out of the town, right?
They give them little goodie bags.
Amazing. Amazing. So, and then we've got 46 days until the election. Early voting started in Virginia. Mm-hmm. I don't know when it starts in Maryland.
Early voting is like October 27th or something like that, around there. It sort of ended up. I should know that as a candidate,
Yeah. So the thing is that early voting, mail-in voting, changes some of the calculus if you're a candidate, because rather than having an election day where everybody had to vote on that day and a few others could vote if they had a legitimate excuse by absentee and stuff like that, a lot of people are going to start casting their ballots. And who knows what other information can come out between now and election day that could potentially change your mind. And if you're a candidate, I just began to think that it's becoming an interesting, challenge to, run campaign ads and do a lot of things when, now you're starting to get into this thing where people are casting their ballots, 45 days in advance, 46 days in advance of the actual election. And you won't be able to change people's minds at that point. Once they're cast, they're cast. So I don't know how this is all going to play out in the end. Democrats continue to hope that they have, through abortion issues and things like that, that they make it up for some of their lost ground, and they won't lose as many seats. But I think they still lose the House here.
Yeah, so. I think that's the reason why we should only be voting on election day. Because we had mail-in voting before it was called absentee ballots, But any other thoughts, Don?
It's just I'm just going. That's it. But that whole thing, this whole election thing, is kind of out of hand with all this early voting and mail-in voting now. Mm-hmm. It's just
now they can count the ballots on October 1st. Starting on October 1st, they can start counting in Maryland.
But did you hear Dan Cox today on the radio?
That was, and that's a question for me to you, both of you guys. I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you agree with that? I know Dan Cox has already made a lot of noise about it.
Yeah, I think what if they've been cast? What's wrong with counting them early? That way, we don't have to wait until Christmas to find out who our next governor is.
Kind of selfishly, I kind of just want to know the results on election night.
Same here. Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
It's not our right as citizens. It's our rights as a citizen for us to know.
But I kind of understand Dan Cox's his protest against it, that he prefers it to be a legislative decision than a judge making the choice, and that was kind of where the grounds on his challenge was. And the legislature actually they passed a bill this year to do that and a bunch of other things, which the other things is why I think Governor Hogan vetoed it.
Mm-hmm. You mean Governor Hogan?
Didn't I say Governor Hogan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Governor Ehrlich would have vetoed that bill too.
I said Governor Hogan, I thought.
No, you said Ehrlich.
Oh, whoops.
But Ehrlich would have vetoed the bill too. Governor Ehrlich.
Probably, yeah.
But
All right. Next up.
I'll go next because Jason wanted to be last.
I can go. I'm ready now. If
You're ready now?
Yeah.
Okay, Jason. Final thoughts.
All right. I had to go on a long drive like 2 weeks ago, and like about a week before that, I found on the internet for sale the Red Troll story by
Oh wow!
So
did you get it on Amazon or eBay?
It was some like book. I don't know. Some random bookstore had it. I don't
was
know.
it in Carroll County?
I've given it away.
Was it in Carroll County?
It wasn't in Carroll County. I thought it was in Frederick.
Because we gave this, there was some Maryland store out in Carroll County that Ray and I gave them like a dozen books to sell. Is it already autographed on the inside?
It is. Yes, but it's inscribed to his longtime friend Bob something.
Bob Ehrlich?
No, it's not Bob Ehrlich. I can't read the last name. It starts with
Infusey. It's probably Bob Infusey.
Maybe.
Does it say Best Wishes?
Best wishes and happy reading.
You know who wrote the Best Wishes and happy reading?
Who's that?
Me.
So this is all your handwriting right here.
Ray did sign it though.
2005.
Ray did sign it.
Okay, so this is
Okay,
what I read.
That is way too funny. That is just way too funny.
You and Ryan and Mark are probably the only ones that have copies. I gave Don a copy, so Don's got a copy somewhere.
Yeah, I wonder what the heck that is now.
You're probably one of the first
Don's
ones
on eBay.
You and Matt,
I probably already sold it for big bucks.
by the way, you see the price inside of the book? It's $34.95 or something like that.
$29.95.
Yeah, you know
With
why?
inflation today, it would probably be $34.95.
But you know why I was 20? By the way, the first draft of that book was like 420 pages, and Ray said, "My friends are going to need a dictionary to read the book." He says it's and he said he goes, "You don't have enough pictures in there." So
I was going to say this one was only probably about probably under 100 pages of reading.
yeah, I know. It's like, look how big the print is.
There was a lot of pictures in the end.
Oh, you should see.
So I finished the book in like an hour.
There was a second run of that book where Ray added more pictures in there, and the original book was like 420 pages. I talk about him growing up in the Depression and all these great stories, and Ray's like, nobody cares about that. It was a war. Everybody knew about that,
Well, I see. I got to know when you're writing your second book.
The Dr. Politics book is the second book. Actually, I do have a picture book I did. I'll get you a copy of that. I did a picture book of various pictures that I've taken around from all over the place, from D.C., Maryland, Virginia, New York, and other places, I've got that. It's a nice coffee table book. It's probably about 36 pages. And so, yeah. And, that's what I should have given the nephew for his wedding gift. Instead of $2,000, I would have given an autographed copy of my book.
That's a great gift. That's a great gift to just hand. Somebody last night took like 4 or 5 yen books and said, "I'm going to give these away at Christmas," and I was like, "Whatever, man."
Yeah, they feel, hey, I paid $200. I paid $200 to come here. I'm going to make it up with the cost of these books.
Yeah.
But I think. But anyways, more final thoughts other than that you found my book on At a
That's
bookstore.
it. Just that I have your book. I'll bring it to Pizza and Politics next week. I'll get a Dwight Patel signature on it.
Okay, that's fine. That's fair enough. You know what is it? When we were doing the book, the first version I did was a draft book, and I had Kinko's bind it and everything, right, for Ray to look at. He actually asked me for copies of that book. He gave that out to people. He gave Bob Orlick one of these books, and it was, I think, the Baltimore Sun, because did a story, and because the book says it's 30.
Because the price was too much to give. It was too expensive.
Anyway, Ray loved the fact that he was in the Baltimore Sun, mentioned in the Baltimore Sun.
Hilarious.
But the reason he came with that price was Sean Hannity had his book Let Freedom Ring came out that same year, probably 3 times as long as that, and 3 times the pages as that book. And since that book was for $19.99, he goes, "Well, my book's better. I got better stories in here than he's got, and I got pictures. I got more pictures than Sean has. So my book's $29.99."
There is. It's true. I mean, this whole last 30 pages is just all pictures.
Yeah. Oh, did you see the picture of him at the Foot Doctor?
Yes, that was the strangest one, I think. Right there.
Or what about by the way, that guy below him? That's John Hubble. He was like a realtor guy. Yeah. A lot of the Baltimore County.
They're just all pictures. Too bad he didn't. Too bad he didn't have a Facebook at this time. I mean, because this is like.
We did. His grandson Jason and I did build him a website at one point. By the way, did you see the back cover picture with him and George W. Bush?
Yes.
Okay.
I did see that.
He went to a cover
Instagram influencer, Jason.
He went
What's
to.
that?
He could have been an Instagram influencer.
He could have been.
Ray had, those.
He had pictures. He's got a picture with everyone.
Yeah, well, Ray had boxes and boxes and boxes of pictures. Those big metal cabinets, where you put stuff in? He had one completely filled with little boxes that had pictures in them. And he actually really probably wanted to use all of them in the book. And I decided we got to have some words in here, right? But we're trying to get a second printing of the book because a lot of folks in Baltimore County have asked me about that. By the way, that guy was also the unofficial mayor of Rosedale.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling Garrett, you need to take that mantle now as the unofficial mayor of Rosedale. Because he's from Rosedale. But anyways, my final thoughts. I got a couple things. One, I know you guys are wondering where Dr. Jeff has been around, but I don't know if many of you knew this. He's also a part-time sorcerer. And this is where he is right now.
What was that picture?
That is Jeff, Sorcerer Supreme. Dr. Jeff, many people don't know this, but he's actually Stephen Strange's cousin. And he's an apprentice to the Sorcerer Supreme.
Is he off training?
Yes, he is. He's in the other realm right now. Because they're also rebuilding the other realm. Because we saw what happened when Scarlet Witch kind of destroyed that realm. But anyways, that was one of my other final thoughts. Is one, I don't know who makes up these lists of the ugliest cars ever. I was looking at the list, and they had the El Camino on there. The Mercury Cougar was on that list, and they had the Mustang II Cobra, which is not that horribly ugly of a car. It was the smaller Mustang, the 6-cylinder and 4-cylinder versions. But I want to say, those are not ugly cars. They also had the El Camino, and they had the Ford County Squire station wagon on there as one of the ugliest cars. These weren't ugly cars. These cars were people. I know a lot of people that owned County Squires and the Mercury version of that same station wagon, But the station wagons were cars that were really big back in the days before the minivans came in. Jason, you probably don't know what a station wagon looks like, but every now and then you see one on the road, But I don't know who comes up with those lists. Other stuff is Pizza and Politics, as we talked about earlier, this Wednesday in Anne Arundel County. Come on out. Have some great pizzas. Probably the best pizza in Anne Arundel County. And that's probably only because I've only had pizza at 4 different places in Anne Arundel County. And the worst one was probably Paneras. Of the place.
Panera.
Yeah, they've got pizza there. It's not
I
that
don't even know if I would count that.
It wasn't that good. I want to say
I'm not shocked.
two places in Annapolis were really good too. This one place right on the water went with Neil, and this other place I went with Neil because Delegate Parrot is like me, a pizza connoisseur as well. And Brothers Pizza in Hagerstown is really good. I don't know if you ever go out that far, Jason, but there's a Brothers in Hagerstown.
Not too often. What about you don't ever go get when you're down here? You don't ever get Rocco's. That's pretty good.
I've been wanting to go to Rocco's, but Rocco's was under renovation, so they were closed. They were closed during the pandemic, and
I used to get Rocco's delivered to our office when it was on West Street.
yeah. So are you not? So we're not at West Street. Oh, that's right. There was something that happened there. I forgot about. But the other final thoughts is go visit dwightformoco.com. A lot of new content coming. A lot of fun stuff. A big announcement coming. Big announcement. So only way you're going to find out is if you subscribe to the newsletter. And you can go to my website and subscribe to the newsletter. You can also go there and donate some money to my campaign. We need to stop. You vote Democrat, you're going to get more transvestite story time at the public library. You vote Democrat, you're going to have higher taxes. You vote Democrat, higher inflation. You vote Democrat, you're going to have higher unemployment. You're going to get more criminals on the streets when you vote Democrat. And you're just not going to be as safe. As Kellyanne Conway said, safe. That's the acronym. And today, the second Commitment to America. What was the name? What's it called? Commitment to America. Is that what the new contract for America? Yeah, great, very simple, easy read. It's even a quicker read than the Ray Kroll story. When you say, Jason. And basically, that's all I've got. One more thing. Prince George's County's Lincoln Reagan dinner is coming up October 12th. In Bowie, Maryland, at the Comfort Inn. Come on out and visit. Governor Ehrlich's going to be there. Governor Ehrlich does a great talk. Governor Ehrlich he is either chair of Victory Maryland now, or what's his official title? Jason?
I don't know. I don't remember what his title is. Something like that.
But he's helping the victory efforts in Maryland.
Right.
And also, if you can't make it to Prince George's County, Governor Ehrlich will be in St. Mary's County on October 6th at their Lincoln Reagan dinner.
I just figured that one out. I was wondering who the speaker was.
Yeah, it's Governor Ehrlich, yeah. Don't you read our newsletter that we send out every Wednesday, Jason?
Yeah, yep. I missed it this week, though, because Wednesday night was the eve of Thursday, which was when our red, white, and blue dinner was.
Yeah, it was a great dinner again. By the way, everyone, next year's dinner, you can probably buy your tickets today if you want.
If you send in a check, I'll hold it for you.
Yeah, there you go. And bring the checks out to Jason Trott.
Speak it out to me. I got you.
But seriously, great job, guys, at the state party. You guys, Corinne, you did. I know you, Jason, Garrett, and all the other employees of the state party. It's a thankless job because I know you probably get a lot more complaint calls than praise calls. I'm willing to bet you've gotten calls this morning. Why was my seat where it was? Why couldn't I do this? Or the food was horrible.
Night.
Oh, you got that last night?
Complaints that the speaker had to change last minute and so on.
I mean, look, Kellyanne was Kellyanne, I'd say.
It went both ways. There were people that complained that Kellyanne was the speaker instead of Kristi Noem, and then there were people that were happier, that were happier to see Kellyanne Conway. So,
it's like look, this is like it's a production. I mean, I know Anne Arundel County. Remember that you guys had a dinner where your speaker Nancy Pelosi didn't let him leave because she called a late vote.
That was Queen Anne's County.
No, that was your county too. Remember Anne Arundel County when you had it out in the. Yes, you did. Remember when you had the dinner out in the middle of nowhere?
That's right. When Devin Nunes was our speaker, he never came.
It was over in Glen Dirty. St. Mary's County had that problem too.
Yeah.
Who was their speaker?
It was Queen Anne's County. They had Jim Jordan.
Oh, really? I did not realize about that one.
It was a year or two ago. I don't remember.
Last
But
year,
I remember he didn't. He either came. He came either really late or he didn't. He wasn't able to come at all.
well, the first Lincoln dinner, Lincoln Day, back then it was Lincoln Day dinners in Montgomery County. Jean Kirkpatrick was the speaker. She did not show up. She got lost and didn't show up till like around 9:15.
Mm.
But it was great that she made it there. Better late than never, as we say. But those are the good old days. And days are only getting better. Our better days are ahead of us, not behind us. Anyways, good night, everyone. Oh, we got one more
Great
chat.
show.
Yeah, we just got another chat minute. Oh, yeah, here we go. Kellyanne rocked. Yes, she did. She rocked. And, okay. I guess that's a message for Democrats, David. Anyways, good night, everyone.
Good night.